House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 8 brings the show's sophomore outing to a close, with a finale that's often great but also frustrating in parts. There's a lot to get through in the finale, which reunites Rhaenyra Targaryen with both Daemon Targaryen and Alicent Hightower, sees King Aegon Targaryen smuggled out of King's Landing by Larys Strong, and multiple visions that portend a lot of doom. It has to wrap up some season-long arcs, while also setting up House of the Dragon Season 3, and for the most part, it successfully does just that. If you thought Aemon Vhagar and the Greens would be up against Rhaenyra and her new dragon army, well, you're going to have to wait for Season 3. In Season 2, House of the Dragon takes its time, introducing important characters ahead of the Dance of Dragons and wrapping up right before the much-awaited climax. Episode 8 feels more like preparation for what's to come than it does a traditional Game of Thrones final. Sorry, no fighting, after last week's intense dragon coupling ritual. Initially, Tywin Lannister attempts to persuade the Triarchy to swear loyalty, as well as ships to Aegon. However, in return, they demand dominion over the Stepstones, a region that has been contested for a very long time. When he finally gives in, they make clear one more demand. If the fleet commander of the Triarchy doesn't fight alongside him, the sailors won't submit to an outside authority. Commander Sheriko Lohar, Abigail Thorne, arrives, assesses Tywin, mispronounces him Tywin, deems him too weak, and declines to set sail. That's so much for it. When Aemon Targaryen sees Rhaenyra's new dragon riders, he flees Dragonstone and unleashes his wrath on the nearby Sharp Point, setting the city and its defenseless citizens on fire. Aegon, his brother, is still recovering in bed when Lord Larys interrupts to make a pressing request. They had to leave King's Landing immediately or Aemon will kill Aegon. Fortunately, they can live there in the interim as Larys has already moved his gold to the Iron Bank in Braavos. Does this qualify as an offshore account? Although Aegon dislikes the thought of running and is more concerned with a particular part of his body failing, he is ultimately persuaded by the prospect of glory. When the moment is right, Larys continues, they can travel back to King's Landing, and Aegon will be an absolute hero. By the way, Rhaena is still in the Vale searching for that wild dragon. The new dragon riders continue to make Prince Jacaerys feel uneasy, if not threatened. His unexpected meeting with Ulf, whose feet are propped up on the painted table, doesn't make matters any better. The young prince is informed by Ulf, Silverwing's new rider, that they are cut from the same cloth, both bastards who ride dragons. But Jace is adamant that they are not the same. Later on, Baela reassures him that Jace is more than only his status in dragons, therefore he shouldn't be concerned about the new recruits. He now had to disprove those who doubted him. In honor of his late wife Rhaenys, Corlys renamed his ship, previously known as Sea Snake, to the Queen who never was. Rather than responding, "I guess he is my son," when Rhaenyra questions him about her dragon rider Adam of Hall, Corlys merely says that Adam was one of his shipwrights, and he had little to do with him, regrettably. Now that Rhaenyra has her 6th dragon unit assembled, he tells her to launch an attack on the Green forces. He also hinted at the possibility of another player who is still unknown. Who might that be? Recall Sir Alfred Broom, the sexist member of Rhaenyra's council. At her suggestion, he travels to Harrenhal to see how Daemon is doing. However, Broom pushes him to ascend to the throne himself during their private meeting with the king consort. Not disguising his misogyny, he states, "What we need in this moment is a king." Daemon grinned. In the shadows, Sir Simon Strong is keeping watch. After her retreat, Alicent Hightower is back in King's Landing. Helena, her daughter, claims that she was content before becoming queen. Alicent suggests that they go out of town. Alicent objects when Aemond arrives and tells Helena to ride her dragon Dreamfire into combat before she can indicate where they would go. She is determined to prevent Aemond's ambition for power from corrupting her knave daughter. She locates Grandmaster Orwyle and requests assistance in obtaining covered passage. Sir Criston Cole is confronted by Gwaine Hightower, Alicent's brother, somewhere in the camp over his affair with Alicent, which he does not refute. He claims that after Alicent twice saved his life, she has been the beacon I follow. It didn't appear that way when Cole rejected her assertion that she was the regent. Cole, however, is quite naive as his army prepares for battle, probably to their destruction. "Don't you think dying will be a kind of relief?" he inquires. Gwaine is taken aback. Following a muddy fight, Tywin gains some of Lohar's esteem and is invited to supper. Lohar offers to sail into battle with him and forces him to sing at the feast, much like your parents made you sing in front of your family when you were a child. Oh, and one more thing. Lohar desires that Tylan bear children to their women. The new dragon riders are having a Targaryen family meal on Dragonstone. Rhaenyra vows to knight them if they do her good service. However, she requires them to act on Corlys' advice and strike while they are ahead. In 2 days, they need to subdue Old Town and Lannisport, 2 green strongholds, in order to put an end to the conflict as soon as possible, even if it means killing innocent people. The notion infuriates Hugh and Baela, but Jace insists it must be done. Before the conversation can go any further, Harrenhal sends a letter. It is from Simon Strong, and it states that although Daemon has successfully gathered his army, he feels there is betrayal underway. To Jace's amazement, Rhaenyra chooses to go over there on her own and asks Adam to accompany her. Daemon is brought to the Godswood by Alice Rivers, who wakes him up in Harrenhal because she feels he's ready to accept his fate. A figure with antlers growls in the distance before vanishing as they leave. What does that signify? When Daemon touches the weirwood tree, a vivid vision of the future appears to him. It includes the three-eyed and blood ravens, White Walkers, a crimson comet, and Daenerys Targaryen, seen from behind, giving birth to her 3 dragons. A vision of Rhaenyra seated on the Iron Throne follows the montage, informing Daemon that she is destined to rule. Then Helaena shows up to remind him that he is involved in this tale. Aemon tries to persuade the real Helaena to take a flight to Harrenhal once more while she is in the Red Keep. She informs Aemon that she witnessed him burn Aegon at Rook's Rest and let him to tumble off his dragon. She also says Aegon will reign as king once more. He sits on a wooden throne and has not yet experienced victory. And you'll have passed away, saying menacingly, swallowed up in the god's eye and never seen again. When Rhaenyra and Adam get to Harrenhal, they discover that Daemon's army has really come into being. There are soldiers all throughout the grounds and in the hall. They have vowed allegiance to Daemon, but to whom? Daemon confesses to having changed his mind in High Valyrian when she unexpectedly confronts him. The world is not what I had imagined it to be. The battle has only just begun. Winter will bring with it gloom and darkness, and another Game of Thrones illusion, but this time from House Stark. After being affected by his weirwood vision, Daemon now shares Viserys' belief that Rhaenyra is the only one who can bring the realm together in order to survive the impending horrors. Declaring Rhaenyra to be the genuine queen, he kneels. Behind him, his troops fall to their knees. Impressed is Rhaenyra. His men yell back as he inspires them to fight for our queen. At last, Corlys is ready to go into a real boat, but not before trying to help his illegitimate son Alan. He gets put in his place by Aelin. "You want to help now, after years of abandoning my brother and me, leaving us hungry and penniless?" He states that if Alan wins the war, he wants to continue it the way he began, by himself. Rhaena finally spots a dragon soaring in the distance. When Rhaenyra awakens, Alicent is there as a surprise guest at Dragonstone. Rhaenyra is not persuaded, but the Queen Mother is prepared to give up her life as a princess along with Helaena and her daughter in order to be free. Alicent even gives Rhaenyra a simple victory. Rhaenyra could storm the castle then, and Alicent would tell the guards to let her through, while Aemond sails to Harrenhal. Regarding Aegon, she might be able to persuade him to give in to his half-sister after he heals. The fact that Alicent continues to support her usurping son irritates Rhaenyra. She has to murder the opponents in order to win. For the sake of her son, would Alicent be willing to sacrifice him? Even though Alicent is crying, she very slightly nods. She even offers for her old buddy to accompany her, pleading with Rhaenyra to let her go so she can fulfill her pledge. But Rhaenyra decides to remain where she is. Alicent walks off by herself. After spent all that time gathering allies and armies, the question now is, will Rhaenyra accept the back door that Alicent just opened for her? In the last montage, everyone is preparing for combat. Hugh, Adam, Ulf, and the Hightower army put on their armor. The army of Stark marches across the Twins as the Freeze promised. The armies of Lannister and Lefford march in unison. Tylan Lannister and Lohar sail with the Triarchy fleet. Corlys and Aelin rode to the Queen who never was. Ulf, Hugh, and Adam put on their armor. At last, Rhaena encounters a wild dragon. Otto Hightower is apprehended and imprisoned. How did he get there? And Aegon and Larys are scheming in a chicken coop. Rhaenyra won't be pleased to hear that Aegon is MIA if she was hoping for his head. House of the Dragon will undoubtedly see more battles in the future, but not just yet.